Hello and welcome to episode 68 of Bits and Pieces, the world's friendliest cricket podcast. We're recording this a day before Sachin Tendulkar's 50th birthday, and this podcast will be released on Sachin Tendulkar's 50th birthday. It's also, incidentally, a day after Tony's birthday, Tony Sebastian, the godfather of the Bits and Pieces podcast. So clearly, even Sachin Tendulkar had immense respect for Tony, and he was born a day. He decided to get born a day after Tony, that's the respect that he and we have for Tony. So happy birthday, Tony! First of all, happy birthday, Sachin Tendulkar too. It was also last week that it was Dickie Bird's 90th birthday. We will reminisce a little bit about Dickie Bird as well, probably in this episode. Of course, we will reminisce about Sachin Tendulkar on this episode. Also, there is a very big event happening in India these days. People are talking about it. Everyone's raving about it, and lots of people are ranting and raving about it. Not ranting much less than raving, and it's a talk of town. In this event, basically every framework is from a well-worn template. Mediocrity is celebrated all the time. Most things are copied from already existing formats, well-established stuff already, and people just rinse, repeat routinely. People generally play to the gallery all the time in this gig, and the noise is tremendous. The hype is even bigger.
But enough about Bollywood.
People go nuts over this. And of course, because of that, they rake in the dollars. But enough of Salman Khan's latest film.
Well done.
Well done.
Let's talk about cricket. Of course, when we refer to cricket, the only matter that is important to talk about in cricket is the Australian team for the World Test Championship and the Ashes. Let's talk about the IPL as well. All right. Apparently, in one match recently between Das Capital and Shivsundar Das Capital, the coach of Das Capital came running onto the ground, gesticulating to the umpire because the umpire had made a mistake. Hello, hang on, wait. Okay, that's the producer in my ear. Okay, hello, yeah, okay. What? That was last year. Okay, apparently this thing happened last year. But look, producer, our audience wouldn't know the difference between that game and some other game. They might even think that it happened this year. Hell, even the players don't know the difference between whether they're playing last year or this year. Every match sort of blends into each other. No, seriously, the only players that will know what is going on is RCB. Yes, only RCB players will say, okay, we want to win this year. Every year they will try hard, but ee sala no ade result.
So cup nahi.
Okay, so we will talk about IPL 2023 for a little bit. And to help us navigate all this, we have a fantastic panel. We have Adi, who is here to test the bench strength of Bits and Pieces, the latest debutant that we have in the Bits and Pieces podcast. Adi is a runner. He started running with me, and now he's running about a good 2 minutes per kilometer faster than me. He recently completed his marathon, and he reads books like They're Going Out of Fashion, especially cricket books, and a voracious reader he is. So welcome to the podcast, your first podcast, Adi. Say hello.
Thanks, Mo. I can finally put it on my LinkedIn profile that got an intro on the Bits and Pieces podcast. So that's a win. Hoping to be as useful as Washington Sundar and Lord in the famous Gabba win. In terms of bench strength.
Dropping BEDX references to please Hank. Green tick mark.
Welcome, big tick mark. This is a minor intro. You'll really be able to update your LinkedIn profile only when Tony gives you an intro. Welcome to the podcast. On the other hand, on the other end of the spectrum, we have, compared to the debutant, we have an absolute veteran who, for his professionalism and class, demonstrated both behind the mic and with the pen in the hand as the boss of Ken, leads us to believe that he was born with pen in one hand and mic in the other. Hang on. Okay, the producer is in my mic again. Okay, PGK has been impact sub. Okay. So instead of PGK, we have an impact sub, and that's another veteran, Abhishek Chopra Nos, Abhishek Chopra. Welcome to the pod, Chops.
Hello. Glad to be back. Glad to
Chops,
not be
for those who
Andy
don't know,
Blignot and Heath Streak.
Chops, for those who don't know, is a treasure house of information. He just walks around with encyclopedic knowledge of everything cricket. Well, everything. Welcome to the pod. Now, the next person on the pod that I'm going to introduce is a person who should be banned from the pod because he actually plays cricket. Sandy G, welcome to the pod. You play cricket very, very regularly, but I don't know what sort of level you play at, but because you play the game, because you hold a bat, you're qualified for the IPL already.
I play mostly I play T20. So but thanks Hank, and happy birthday to Tony. I think we spoke about how Sachin has paid respect to Tony, but even BCCI is paying respect to Tony because today they have kept Sanju versus Kohli match. So it's a birthday gift to Tony today.
The only thing missing would be New Zealand in the mix.
Yeah. Hey, you asked which level of cricket Sandy G plays. Sandy G has played cricket with Faiz Ahmed Faiz. Oh, sorry, that's the poet. He's played with Faiz Ahmed. Faiz Fazal.
Fazal.
Yes.
There you go. And the person who just spoke is Vikas, who's recently been holidaying. If you follow his Instagram posts and all that, some fantastic pictures of holidays. He's actually pulling up his t-shirt to show.
The t-shirt says Bali.
Bali, that's right. He's been to Bali, and he's been celebrating his anniversary for a fairly long time, I would think. So, and apart from anything else, he hasn't been watching much of the IPL. So, like the rest of us, he becomes an instant IPL expert. Say hello, Vikas.
Hi, Mohan. Good morning, everyone. Or in the words of the legendary Abhishek Chopra, good morning, cuties.
and last but not least, bringing up the rear end of the pod, just as his team RCB does, we have Samir. This guy, when he's not watching movies, supports RCB. Enough said.
Just for the record, I almost went and watched Kisi Ka Bhai Kisi Ka Jaan right yesterday because I was so bored, and then I realized that it was a hashtag just missed from my end. But you never know. I might end up watching the movie after 6:30 p.m. today, given that it's a Green Day game for RCB.
Yeah. So guys, we have plenty to talk about today, but why don't we all start with a personal anecdote, reminiscence of Sachin Tendulkar, given that this is going to be released on his birthday. We'll start there and then make our way through IPL and all the other stuff. So why don't we start with Vikas reminiscing about, a Tendulkar anecdote or innings or something like that, and we'll work around the table and then think about what we can add to what's already been written. Lots has been written in the last week about Sachin's 50th birthday. So go for it, Vikas.
Thanks, Mohan. So I don't believe my words can do justice to the kind of player Sachin was and his contribution to Indian cricket. So hence, the innings I have picked up, I'll actually be quoting directly from Rahul Bhattacharya's Pandits from Pakistan. So this is Sachin's 141 versus Pakistan in actually a losing cause in the second ODI of the 2004 series when we traveled to Pakistan after almost 20 years. So this is the second ODI, and this is page 95, Rahul Bhattacharya's Pandits from Pakistan. When he's batting well, Tendulkar's movements are so contained, every hair is in place. And then he goes on to compare Sachin's innings in this ODI versus Inzamam's in the first match. And so Tendulkar was now faced with the task Inzamam had been at Karachi. He had to bat fast, but not only that, he had to bat big, but not only that, he had to do both. He was in less trouble than Inzamam because he had to meet a lower required rate, but he was in more trouble than Inzamam because runs were not coming at the other end. By and large, Sachin followed the gambler's credo that you got to know when to hold them, know when to fold them, know when to walk away, and know when to run. And sums it up absolutely amazingly in this paragraph when he says, how does stack up against Inzamam's innings at Karachi? It was bereft of all the poignancy of the occasion. Inzamam had scored faster. It had been more awesome. But then he also had amazing support from Yunis and in particular Johanna. Tendulkar's was a proper lone hand. In the time he had made 141. The other batsmen between them scored 76. And indeed, extras finished as the second highest scorer of the innings. So no innings of Sachin exemplifies the kind of player he was than probably this. He scored 141 in a chase of 330. The others didn't score as many, and the second highest scorers were actually extras. So Sachin, the man since 1989, playing lone hand in Indian chases, in India batting first, in test matches, in T20, the one match that he played, and in ODI. So that's the kind of player he was. The lone survivor, playing the lone hand, and always the man who stood up when it mattered the most.
Amazing, amazing, amazing. Thanks for that, because we go to Sandy now.
There are so many innings of Sachin, and we've all grown up watching him. We can talk about his 98 versus Pakistan in World Cup 2003, or his 200, the most recent great memory of him. But I think what defines that person is his innings in 1999 World Cup after his father's death. He it shows that temperament of that person, and it shows how gritty and dedicated he was. Came back from after his father's death, actually scored 140 in the next match, and I mean that's pretty phenomenal for a sportsman to do that. So that is my memory. I mean, there are a lot, but that is one of the things that really defines Sachin.
Amazing, amazing. Chops, you want to go next?
Yeah, I'll do a minor plug of my other podcast with Nitin, which had the two of us talking about our favorite moments from Sachin's career, and both of us chose to go very, very left field, and we ended up picking none from his batting. But I mean, since Sandy Ji and Vikas have spoken about batting, I'll pick mine. This is perhaps Sachin's worst cricket memory, the 81 all-out at Barbados in 1997-98. And it's obviously remembered for all the wrong reasons. I was at my Nani's place, my maternal grandmother's place, and me and my brother, we used to sit in front of the TV late in the evening and then watch it all the way, late into the night. And the first innings that India had a sparkling 92 by Sachin. Curtly, Ambrose, Courtney Walsh, Mervyn Dillon, Franklin Rose was the bowling attack, and it was a very, very spicy pitch. And Sachin used to have that helmet back then, which had 4 holes, 2 in the front, 2 in the back, and it's a very particular helmet that reminded me of Sachin even now, Sachin of that time. And he was a fairly attacking player back then. You had the pulls and the hooks and the cuts and everything, and the pitch was spicy, and so the field setting was also a bit attacking, and there were lots of gaps, and he made full use of them. Fell short of what could have been a well-deserved 100, but the test is now obviously has gone to the worst kind of memory that an Indian fan could have. But that 92 was really special. And perhaps that is the reason why it hurt so much when we lost, because the hopes that were created were of another level. And I mean, it was a cricketing lesson for sure, but it was also a life lesson for the young cricket fan in me.
But isn't it interesting that even though you might say that, that test, brings bad memories and so on, actually, probably not. I'd be willing to test that a little bit and say that, we probably remember it fondly, simply because, he was a great innings that almost pulled off a win. And we don't probably respect the loss as much as we don't think we respect the loss as much as we do. We actually do.
I am not going to be convinced by anything. I mean, I remember crying when India lost, and so and it's one of the worst memories, and nothing that anyone will ever be able to say about
It-
how it balances out and evens out, etc. I mean,
Sure, sure.
so many years since India had won a test series or a test match properly in West Indies and all of that, and so this one would have been truly special.
We'll probably come
And-
back to that at some point in time during this pod itself. Thanks
Yeah.
so much, Chops. That's quite amazing. Adi, do you want to go next? Or let's go Samir. So let's go Samir next. Adi, you go
Okay.
last because you're the debutant.
No, if he wanted to go, he
It's like
could have gone.
It's like fielding a silly point. As a
Danger money. Samir, go.
For me, it remains. I think I want to remember very fondly Sachin Tendulkar, the Test cricketer, because I mean we can talk about his one-day innings of note, but what he achieved in Test cricket for that time and age was simply staggering, right? I want to call out two specific instances. One is basically Sachin Tendulkar's memory, and second is about the last test that happened in Wankhede. So obviously the 241 in SCG just stands head and shoulders. It is not his highest score, but for the sheer fact that Australia came into that game with a game plan and he scored that 241 with not even a single cover drive. Everything was a flick off the wrist. Everything was on the leg side. Everything, all the boundaries, right? Like, I mean, it's rightfully said that SCG should be rechristened to Sachin Cricket Ground. And I think that innings just stood out, right? Like he was at his peak form in that phase. And just almost pulled off the game, right? Like that 241 had it been, I mean, it also came on the back of quite a few series where he was struggling or was getting stuck at the milestones. Even I think in the same decade was when the whole 194 at Multan happened, and wasn't Indian cricket itself was going through like a metamorphosis period with Rahul Dravid's captaincy and all of that. It came in that decade, right? It then paved way for Tendulkar to play an absolute gem of an innings here. So for me, the 241 stands head and shoulders above any of his test innings. I want to actually call out an interesting anecdote which happened during his last test game. So I remember BCCI was doing e-postcards then, and this was the time when you had to basically go fill out a form and all of that. I mean, still technologically challenged or whatever. I remember at I think we ended the second day at 35 or 40 not out, and we were all like expecting like, okay, there's gonna be a Tendulkar century or whatever. Only for the next day he was out at 74. I think he was caught at mid on or mid off or cover somewhere. Uh, I remember specifically that after we were in a hostel, we were seeing the scores, and then the dismissal happened and we all walked back. I remember exactly 10 seconds or 20 seconds after the dismissal, because I had my laptop open. BCCI's e-card came with Shikhar Dhawan basically lifting Sachin Tendulkar. And I was like, God, why is this moment making me emotional, right? Like, we've been through Sachin Tendulkar's most successful phases. We've been through the phases when he's getting out actually caused grief to a lot of people, exemplified by Chops at the 81 all-out game. And that moment specifically very poignant for some reason, because I think at that moment I also realized that your heroes are getting old and they kind of obviously fade into the background. I mean, happy to see that he's still around the IPL benches. He still plays the odd exhibition game, but wow, we've just seen a player for the ages, honestly. Yeah, that's my SRT memory.
Thanks.
And just to add one small thing, being an automotive enthusiast, I also remember Fiat Palio launching the S10 special edition yellow color card with his autograph actually on the bonnet. I know a lot of those autographs were scraped and stolen back in the day when it was released. I think it was 2006 or 7.
Thank you. We'll do the two more reminiscences and then probably start another pod recording.
Called heads and tails, yeah.
Heads and so I have two things to say. One is been following this guy for a fair bit. A guy called Sunil Warrior was the first one to write about Sachin Tendulkar when Sachin was just 13 years old. But there's even contention on that because even before Sunil Warrior had written an article, there was just a brief profile that was written by a guy called Sharat Kotnis. I think both of them wrote for the Midday. I could be wrong about that. We need to fact check that. But Sunil Warrior wrote about Sachin when he was 13 years old, a full-fledged article and an interview. The interesting thing was that the interview was conducted at the lunch break or the tea break when I think it was Ajit Tendulkar who did all the talking because Sachin just couldn't give an interview, and that probably remained with him for a long time. He probably wasn't one to talk much, and even in the first interview, it was his brother that spoke, and I think they spoke in Marathi. And Sunil Warrior then wrote that article. But the thing that I want to reminisce about was I know that people will be talking about Desert Storm and 241 and Chennai and all that sort of stuff and Multan. So being contrarian, I want to talk about Sachin Tendulkar's efforts in the IPL. So Sachin Tendulkar
What a twist! What a twist!
Sachin Tendulkar played 6 seasons in the IPL from 2008 to 2013. And he stopped playing IPL in 2013, and I stopped watching IPL in 2013. Not because Sachin Tendulkar stopped playing, but because of many other reasons. He scored about 5 centuries and 13 half centuries, I think, or something. No, sorry, 1 century,
One
and 13
century,
half
no?
century.
Yeah.
And it's that 1 century that I
And-
want to talk about.
Oh yeah, I mean, I just wanted to say that century is also a tribute to Tony.
Exactly right.
Yeah.
So we'll come to that in a minute.
Happy birthday, Tony.
We'll come to that in a minute. So, but he also has the distinction of being the first orange cap winner. I think it was in the 2010 season when he scored about 600 and something runs at 50, an average of 50 or something in the IPL. That's quite phenomenal for a player who's more or less in the twilight of his career at that time. But his 1 century comes from Mumbai Indians playing Kochi Tuskers in Qatar. And that was his only century in the 2011 episode. I actually watched that game very close from start to finish. Some amazing hitting in that game. There was one shot that I remember that he was way outside the leg stump. His right leg was actually on leg stump. His left leg was outside the pitch, and he actually hammered it on the offside for a huge hit. That team with Kochi Tuskers was not an honorary team. It had Vinay Kumar, who was then a reasonably good bowler. R.P. Singh, who was a damn good bowler in 2011.
Raifi Gomez, yeah.
Exactly, Gomez, and Ravi Jadeja was also
Ishant.
playing
Ishant.
for Tuskers. If I remember,
Ishant as well.
Romesh Pawar shook the ground a little bit over there as well for Kochi Tuskers. So it was quite a good bowling team, and Tendulkar scored his only century in the IPL in that game. But he was actually quite a mean T20 player as well, although he didn't play a single World Cup game for India in the World Cup. So that's my Sachin Tendulkar memory, because I knew that you guys would be talking about Desert Storm and all this other stuff. I picked this one. Adi, over to you.
Yeah. Hang talking about an IPL memory of Sachin. I just wrote this down. So this is
Yeah,
23rd of April, 11:33 a.m. Yeah. Please note this down, guys.
Yeah.
And more when you spoke about Ramesh Pawar, I was reminded of this famous Cricinfo headline or byline in an article which said Ramesh Pawar injured for the game against West Indies because he made the fatal sin of diving for a catch at practice. And we all know how Ramesh Kumar was in the fitness department.
There you
So
go.
yeah,
Was the ground fit to play, Adi?
which is his
Okay.
defense, I suspect. My Tendulkar memory was from the 96 World Cup, an India-West Indies game in Gwalior, where we bundled them out cheaply for 170, and Tendulkar scored 70 odd. And why this is a reminiscence is because there's this article by Mike Selvey in this book of cricket essays called the Picador Book of Cricket. And the title is Sachin of Mumbai. So I'm just going to speak about this brief paragraph because I remember the short specifically. He says, to quote, "It was one brief moment in time. The World Club India West Indies in Gwalior and a single stroke of such exquisiteness that the old Maharaja surely would have had it carved in ivory and placed on a plinth. In essence, it was more than a leg side flick to the boundary, and in a competition that gorged itself on hitting, might have been worth only transient acclaim. But this was a gem, a length ball from a high class pace bowler, and this was Ambrose, met initially with a straight blade, and then at the last nanosecond, and we can all imagine this, turned away with a roll of the wrist, and such an irresistible alliance of power, timing, and placement that first of all it eluded the fingertips of a mid-wicket fielder diving to his right, and then it did the same to the boundary runner, herring and plunging to his left. Skill, technique, confidence, awareness, vision. Pure genius, and 4 more runs to Sachin Tendulkar.
Brilliant.
Yeah. So, you know, who's the only person who's not happy at Sachin's 50th birthday?
Who's that?
Sunny Ji, he wants him to convert the 50 into 100.
Oh, God.
Oh, so sorted. God.
So Adi, do you want to talk about the IPL a little bit?
So Vikas spoke about a pop quiz on Tendulkar. I said I might test the IPL veterans here on the current season of the IPL 2023. 2 matches. Tell me who are the teams who played. Right? Simple.
Oh, man.
The
Oh,
IPL is less than
man.
2 weeks away.
Nobody is gonna win this. Nobody.
So the first game I'm going to speak about. Quick summary of the game. Tell me who are the teams. So team batting first scored 178 for 7. One of the opening batsmen in this team scored 92. A leading India test bowler in the opposition took 2 for 29 in 4 overs. In chasing it, the opposition team won by 5 wickets to spare, with 4 balls to spare, with a fine 63 by a young Indian batsman.
I'm going to say one of them is RR.
RR versus GT,
Yeah.
no? This is RR
GT.
versus GT.
No. Next
Yeah,
guess.
both
wait.
wrong. Huh? Both
Wait,
wrong.
this
Both
is-
wrong.
This is
Hey, this is 2023 IPL, right? Because like
2023.
Hank said, this could might well be from 2022. We have no clue.
2023.
Okay,
Because
what team does-
And this,
2022,
by the way, this is the same.
2023 is a challenge.
This is the same episode of the IPL where this coach comes running into the ground in the last.
no, that
Hey, this 92 is Shikhar Dhawan. So the first team is Punjab Kings.
Wrong again. Final guess.
Shikhar is playing for Punjab these days, huh?
This is the
Used to be
Bhai
Hyderabad. Hyderabad. no? Okay.
वो फिर दिल्ली भी गया.
Hyderabad, Mumbai.
Oh, Mumbai? Okay,
I
cool,
thought
cool.
after Hyderabad was Delhi and then back to Punjab, right?
Yeah, he went to Delhi first.
Hey,
No,
so,
I'm saying
interesting
Hyderabad.
segue.
Is it
Yeah.
Hyderabad versus Mumbai?
Oh, that is
No,
Sandy's
I've
answer.
been trying to rake up this issue for the longest time on the group. So Max, was it right, who coined the term Jaidrath player about Sanju Samson? Like he'll have this one innings every IPL where he's absolutely untouchable. So we should have more Mahabharata analogies. So
Dave,
Dhawan
first you
is-
answer his question. No.
First you answer this question, boss.
Classic
This
IPL.
is classic.
watcher.
This is classic IPL methodology.
There
This
is
is not
you've
regular.
taken-
only trash talk.
Strategic. What strategic timeout you're taking and doing something else?
This is like on-
Have you-
like
have
on
you
Ranji
seen this
Singh,
yet?
fine glance, fine leg glance.
we can guess, no?
Wait.
We can
Is
guess,
this-
no, right?
Is
There
Meanwhile,
is
this
only
Sandy
the
is
one
first
looking at
match?
Google and all that. He's doing all sorts of searches online. Still, he's not finding the match.
Hey,
What's
ask
the
Chat
answer?
GPT.
Who is doing Google? We can
This is answer is the first match of
first
this
match.
IPL.
Yeah.
Oh.
CSK
CSK
versus
versus
Gujarat.
Hey, now Sandy G is like, yeah, first match.
Yeah,
No,
I
no,
knew
no,
it all
no.
along. Yeah.
By the
I
way,
think
this
batsman who
If
scored
I was
92
letting the
was-
others answer.
exactly.
First match happened last year, right?
No, first
First
match,
game this
correct.
year.
This
Last
92
month.
92 was Devon Conway. Shami took 2 for 29, and 63 was scored by Shubman Gill by chasing for GT.
Man,
Oh.
too tough.
True tough.
There is
Very
a
okay.
there is a pretty weak hypothesis
You know what?
being formed.
Adi, the best part is you could have said 3 other names and we would have all said
Yeah,
yeah.
we would have said yes.
They would have also
Third
done
match. Yeah, third match. Oh, fourth match also. Same score.
And you could have said any year, and we would have said yes. This happened. Great
Adi,
question.
Continue this trivia. This is great fun, Ra. This was
Hey,
stage match
this
is
could
already
be-
happening.
Hey, this is IPL, right? It's fixed, no? So this could very well be the scorecard of the match which is happening tonight. First team.
Today is a double header, by the way. Which game? Afternoon game or evening game?
Does
See,
anyone know
Sandy
that?
has a
Who's playing
theory,
today?
no? Afternoon
yeah.
games don't have super overs.
Yes.
Yes.
That's
Hmm.
the
Because
like-
they eat into the viewership of evening games.
But didn't that happen once? I remember
Yeah,
clearly
yeah,
there
once-
was one
once. Yeah, yeah,
afternoon
one.
game which went into a super over.
In
When was
fact,
this?
in
20
fact,
Nay,
on that day,
Samir,
both
now don't try
It
to show
happened
off,
only
okay?
once.
no once,
You-
and on that day, both games went into super over.
Okay.
So
Because you
imagine
didn't get Adi's question. Now you're like, I will invent my own question, answer it myself.
But
I'll
that's
answer
also,
the question for which I didn't ask the answer. He's creating a new question and answering it himself.
So basically,
But
he's
enough-
gone, but he's gone for history exam, learning geography, and he'll say, I'll write geography only. That is the test.
in the end, I ended up writing
Didn't go to
Jumping
college.
Japan lyrics.
Didn't go to college only.
Yeah, Adi, second question.
Second question. Team batting first scored 175 for 8. English batting legend scored 52.
Charles Butler,
Team,
RR.
team batting second, South African born batter scored 50, but they lost by 3 runs.
Faf
RR
du Plessis,
versus
RCB.
SRH.
RR versus
tell me-
RCB.
Wrong. Next.
RR versus RCB is today, Ra. What? Chuma, you're getting-
Double header. no?
Actually, it's fixed.
No,
That's already
I'll give
happened.
I'll give Chops a pass mark because he got the first team right. Yes, that is RR
Yes.
and Josh Butler scored 52. So whom did they?
In your face, da Samir.
Yeah.
Hmm.
So while batting,
Who,
I'm
SRH.
repeating-
who won the match?
yeah, the
RR
team
won the
batting
game.
first won. The team
SRH.
chasing lost by 3 runs with a South African born batter scoring 50.
South African born
South
batter
Africa.
scoring. Born batter. This can be
Hey, you
Ben
guys watch
Stokes.
This is
IPL every
practically
day,
the
no?
entire New Zealand team, no?
And England team
Or even
also.
Ben
And England
Stokes.
team.
Or even Ben
Did Kevin
Stokes.
Peterson come out to bat from commentary box?
Who's the South African? Markram? Acha, South African born. Oh.
LSG.
that is-
This
Oh.
LSG.
That's the trick. That's the trick question.
Rahane may twist.
Keshav Maharaj.
Keshav Maharaj is
Keshav
playing this
Maharaj,
IPL, huh?
I think he's
Is
still
this
recovering
a-
from that hamstring after those vigorous celebrations.
Ah.
Is this LSG?
So the first batting first team won by 3 runs.
Yes.
That's RR.
Sandy
This
is
is
asking for
definite-
it.
This is definitely a CSK match, right?
That's correct. Yes.
Oh, yes. So
Yes.
who made 50 in that match?
RR versus
Kevin
CSK.
Conway.
Yeah.
Conway, okay. He's South
Superb.
African one. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
South African one.
Oh, so
Shashank
entire
Kishore
New
has
Zealand
a wonderful piece on his journey from South Africa to New Zealand.
Link it in the
I
show
thought
notes.
Sandy G was asking for hint as if he was trying to work out the answer.
ChatGPT with
Someone,
the
in
head.
fact, I think one of you mentioned this game for my first match, which
Ah, that
effectively
was me.
proves
Yeah,
the
yeah,
larger point
Yeah.
that it all blends into each other, right?
No, it was also the other point that Vikas was making that since matches are fixed, it could be like any match and,
Yeah,
and it
Yeah.
could still be right.
The same narrative applies to every match. That's all.
Yeah.
Yeah,
There
it's
are-
been
there-
happening from 2017, 2018.
There are a
The
lot of
2013,
people who-
the season Hank stopped watching IPL is happening since then. Till 2013 IPL not fixed. Sachin was
And-
playing, everything was good.
And
Okay,
the
Adi,
thing,
continue.
this-
You're on
Oh,
you're on a roll. You're on a roll.
Oh.
Hey, I'll not do the
I.
IPL rant, Hank. That's on you, man.
No. We're working towards this. Adi's going to ask some more quiz questions on
Yeah,
tests.
Adi, more questions.
No, I think I'll stop with the IPL questions because to be fair for me, while looking at the scores, they all kind of look very similar after a point. So I was like, fine, I am getting confused myself about who batted first and who batted second. So
Okay, so
I think
because
I
we are
think-
there, no. So yeah, I'll throw a few questions, right? So these are random statements made by some very eminent cricketing personalities. So Chops would remember this. So Chops, remember in 4th, 5th standard Hindi, we used to have these questions called "Kisne kaha, kisse kaha, kyun kaha." So Hank, yeah, we aren't using too much Hindi
Yeah,
on the board,
we
right?
all went to 4th standard, yeah. Why only
So basically, you have to tell me
So
who
we
made this
will-
statement and what is
we
the
will know at this point if Vijay Arumugam still listens to our episodes or not.
or you can just link that TR clip saying Hindi seekh raha hu and all of that.
Yeah.
Very liberally.
एक गांव में एक
Except
किसान
me
रघुता
and you,
था.
nobody worries about show notes. Star.
I
By the
said
way, there's a
audio.
movie called एक गांव में एक किसान रहता है रघुता था. It's
Raghuta,
actually
yeah,
called
yeah,
Raghuta tha.
Raghuta,
Raghuta tha,
it's
yeah.
coming.
It's
Kirti
coming.
Okay,
Suresh.
okay. Okay,
Okay,
Vikas
guys.
question.
So here it
Okay.
goes. I don't know how this happened, and it has happened so fast. But yeah,
KL
that's
Rahul.
cricket.
Oh, really?
So this
Really?
is this is KL Rahul talking about his match losing 61 of 59 or 60 balls. Yesterday's match versus who was it? GT. Yes.
GT.
Yes.
Wow,
So
sensation.
just
one
one,
chops.
since we are discussing on that, just one point. I think it is unbelievable how Lucknow lost that match, and they needed 34 runs of 39, I think, and 9 wickets in hand.
Yeah.
And I think the turning point was when Vijay Shankar
KL
kind of
Rahul
dropped.
came out to bat. That
Rahul.
was a turning point.
Yeah. But also when Vijay Shankar kind of dropped Rahul, I think KL Rahul was playing at 54 of 40 odd balls, and in the
If you
next
say so,
20,
yeah.
in the next 20 balls, he has scored just 14 runs after being in for so much time. I think.
So for
horrible.
the benefit of Hank, Lucknow has an IPL team now, Hank.
I know that.
It's called the Lucknow Titans. Oh, Lucknow Super Giants. Yeah.
Lucknow Super Giants.
Right.
Gujarat, right? Anyway, I
Gujarat.
don't live under a rock. It's just that this rock doesn't live.
Also, if you want to know what their jersey color is, imagine like a bar of Rin soap and it's just the same damn color. Their double scales and everything is gone. They've
Isn't
just
that the
gone.
color of a lot of IPL teams now?
Yeah.
Blue.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
the broad point, I think that when Adi was making his comment, and this is well known. I mean, we don't remember anything about these games. You just watch these games for about 2 hours or something like that. Every game looks like the other game, and it just goes off. So no more rant. This is all I want to say.
Just
Hey,
to,
no,
just to add to
I
your
was beginning to
point,
think.
Sorry.
Sorry.
Yeah.
I was beginning to think that Hank got Adi to the podcast so that there is this build-up where we are all proven to be terrible at remembering IPL, and then Hank is like, "Now I will launch into the rant."
Yeah. And
Total
how we used to write,
anticlimax.
how we used to write, hence proved. Underline, double underline.
But
second statement.
you're not far from wrong, because Adi was supposed to go on and ask some questions about tests from 1964 and 1984 that we will all remember. Right?
Oh, that Chops will know. Test played 1887, France versus England, Olympics, Chops would know.
Chops has
Okay,
time
second
travel
one.
to that test.
I think just
Okay,
to add
Sandy G
to
was saying
Hank's,
something. Yeah.
yeah, just to add to Hank's point, I think Vikas and I were playing cricket in the morning, and while coming back, we were discussing, oh, we have to watch yesterday's highlights. We've forgotten everything.
But speaking of yesterday's highlights, in fact, I was mentioning this to Hank earlier. So Mumbai played Punjab Kings yesterday in Bombay. Sam Curran, I was watching the highlights, was going gangbusters. For some strange reason, I don't know how this happened, the camera panned to 8 supporters wearing Zimbabwe jerseys in the stands, and they appear to be from Zimbabwe. So this was probably the only moment I felt, okay, maybe the IPL producers do have some cricketing knowledge outside of these 10 teams and are able to put 2 plus 2 together about Sam Curran and his connection to Zimbabwe.
Yeah,
So
but
there's
No,
a nice
something
in the
backstory to there's a
Yeah,
nice
yeah.
backstory to this. So Prosper Utseya, ex-Zimbabwe cricketer who's now the coach of the Zimbabwe under-19 team. So these 10 people that they panned to, they were Zimbabwe under-19 cricketers.
Oh, lovely.
So Prosper Utseya had got them tickets to the stadium to watch Sikandar Raza, because Sikandar Raza had sponsored their tickets. It's a nice little throwback to the fact that Sam Curran has also a Zimbabwe connection, but it was for Raza's presence that he's come in and he's played. He has had an impact on Punjab. I mean, some of the innings, and he's not carried the bat, but he's ensured that Punjab won some clutch games. And his presence for getting these people into the stadium and an atmosphere is quite commendable. I don't know. I mean, the comms also has largely been very, very passable at best, and trash at times. But I remember clearly one aspect.
You mean like
the
the cricket?
very first, like the cricket only. But I remember one aspect from the very first game where I don't know who it was on the comms. Probably this was on the Insiders link on Geo Cinema, where Robin Uthappa mentioned that this sort of an atmosphere will do a world of good for Josh Little, because rarely would he have faced a 50,000 crowd in his own backyard in Ireland. And Josh Little actually turned out a fairly decent performance. He ended up taking wickets. He did travel a bit, but he did take up wickets in that game. 1 wicket, or I think he ended up taking two. So there have been some nice little stories like this, but far and few in between, honestly, the whole middling trash that is there in the cricket.
But Samir,
So,
Samir, the interesting thing, there are a couple of interesting things. One is that both Vikas and Sandy put some revision, but Adi also put revision, right? That itself is very good. But the interesting thing about all of this is, the backstory about Sikandar Raza, paying for the under 19 cricketers to be there, and Chops actually put a link in our to the tweet in our group, and we should link it in the show notes as well. But the interesting thing is that the Sam Curran connection, and for the producer to pan to these Zimbabwean players when Curran was going nuts, is, I think, quite good. It's quite interesting, not to be patronizing about the producers and so on, but there is a nice
On that
connection
note,
over there.
random trivia question. First or school coach of Tom and Sam Curran. Who was the school coach of Tom and Sam Curran?
Andy Blignard.
No.
Ben Stokes' father, is it? No, they had some
No.
connection. Somebody's dad.
No.
Somebody's dad. Wait.
Chris Broad.
Okay,
Yeah.
hint I'll give you: 1999 World Cup.
Henry Olonga.
Olonga.
No.
Mbangwa.
Zimbabwe. Oh, Neil Johnson.
Perfect. Neil Johnson is the
Oh.
right answer.
Nice. Hey,
Oh,
talking of
but,
coaches, Adi and I were talking this morning about some sort of quirks in the IPL coaching staff and so on. Adi, do you want to go?
Yeah, so I was just
This is all part of revision, by the way.
Yeah,
Oh.
because again, while watching the Punjab Kings and Mumbai match this morning as revision for today's pod, the camera panned to the Kings dugout, and I saw Sunil Joshi and Wasim Jaffer there, and then that got me into a rabbit hole of just looking at all the different coaches that the teams have, and it's quite riveting viewing. What got me was KKR has James Foster as an assistant coach. And I had to do a double take because I do remember him playing, I think, 4 or 5 tests for England in the early 2000s and some internationals. I didn't know that he had actually transitioned to coaching, and then you see him in KKR in 2023. So I said, wow, that's quite a full circle. One more name in KKR was Ryan Ten Doshate, if I'm pronouncing his name
Yes.
right. I think he was a dual international, right? Chops, or did he only play for Netherlands?
No, I think dual international. He was the one who was at the crease when England England were beaten by the Netherlands in that T20 World Cup.
T20 match, correct. Yeah. So there was Ryan Ten Doshate, and then I think Bangalore, I think we all know, have had Sanjay Bangar for a while. That probably explains a few issues in their batting department. So any other members of the coaching staff that you guys have seen whom you found a bit strange?
Ravi Namre is still around.
He's still there.
he's
what do you
Namre
think?
still around.
Yeah, he's still there.
I think
Not running on the field. No?
Vijay Dahiya with his long hair
Yeah.
for Lucknow is a
And
treat
who
to
can
watch.
forget Ashish Nehra?
Yeah. There's this
Nehra has
lovely
actually been a
article.
fabulous coach, no?
Yeah. I mean, that's what they say. I never know how you evaluate coaches other than the
Correct.
platitudes you hear from the cricketers. But yeah, interesting indeed. There's a lovely article that Jared Kimber wrote about the plight of the assistant coaches in all these T20 leagues, and while the main coaches obviously command big money, the assistant coaches are
Don't get.
like a dime a dozen, and they get hired and fired in a frenzy. James Foster is one odd name that came to my attention too, and yeah, I mean it's just amazing how these players sort of crop up in random places. I think if we expand the universe of this assistant coaching business to all T20 leagues, I think many more random names will come up.
But what got me thinking, looking at Sunil Joshi and Wasim Jaffer, because these guys obviously played much before T20s became big. So the thinking was, does it really matter that you didn't play a format in order to be an effective coach? And my thinking was, given that these guys get 2 and a bit months, there's really not much they're going to change in a player's game, which I think even Bharat Arun mentioned on some other pod in his time is KKR, that I come in for a few weeks. There's only more man management and that kind of thing, rather than a lot of technical skills that I can actually impart over that period of time. Right. So I'm not disputing that Sunil Joshi might be a great bowling coach, etc. But I just wonder if there is much he's bringing to the table despite not having played much T20.
Hey, but what are you saying that, the first IPL match, both of these gentlemen played for RCB in that.
RCB,
along
exactly.
with Shiv Chandra for RCB.
They
But
created
I
a
think
test.
there has been a lot of discussion. For example, Vikram Rathod, batting coach of Indian cricket team, or Sanjay Bangar also, and when Rahane or Pujara were facing problems. So I mean, there were a lot of discussions on what inputs were they able to give. I think it's more about there are a lot of data analysts searching for what exactly is the problem, and then providing data to them, and they kind of helping the cricketers. It's more of man management and nitty-gritties. I don't think the technique or the long-term batting approach can be changed
And
a
that's the
lot
point,
for
right,
these cricket.
Sandeji? That the broader point
Yeah.
is, in a test match or a test tour, there's far more time to actually fix these technical problems that do occur. These players are pretty good. They know. I mean, a lot of them spend a lot of time with these video analysts, except Kohli, of course, who just goes there and bats. He apparently doesn't do much of video analysis. But all of that inability to do video analysis is made up for by Ashwin, who's spending all the time in front, occupying the video analyst. But that's the point, right? They do a lot of that analysis anyway, and the coach in the longer form of the game can do kinds of things that talk to the players and think about and get them to think about their techniques. There's a coach that I talked to that I can't name at the moment that said talk to a player about the denial that they had, right? So sometimes you get into the zone of denial. You need someone to break through that to say, no, there is something wrong. You need to listen to what I'm saying, right? So you can do that in the longer form. In a game that lasts 2.5 hours, where you're going packing bags, going to the next place, what are you going to do? You have a team of about 6 assistant coaches. What are they going to do? I don't know. Apart from throwing the ball, picking up the ball, and going home.
I mean,
want to.
that's
I want to
Sorry.
add one small thing, Sandyji. Sorry. A good primer of this exists on RCB's YouTube channel, right? Like, I mean, we always talk about how Nags makes like A-grade content, and they've been pulled through. I remember seeing this one video. I think this was from 2021 or last year, where they were discussing fielding drills and batting drills. And I think the mandate to one of the assistant coaches who comes on here and tells is that, let's say, if Suyash Prabhudesai has to go there and bat, right? You give him a scenario that says you need to get 20 from 7 balls. Same with Shahbaz Ahmed. How will these people adapt to these scenarios? And a lot of these horses for courses approach is done in IPL, because what the assistant coaches do is get these scenarios out, right? Like, and a great example of that scenario coming to life is that Rinku Singh hitting 5 sixes, man. I mean, there is no better example of that. He was primed, he was there, he knew that it's gonna be 5 deliveries that legit he has to tong. For his grace, Yash Dayal ended up bowling at least 3 of them on the slot, 2 were full tosses or something like that. But that's the thing, right? They are being primed for scenarios like this, and not even man management at some level. These are all scenario players, because come to think of it, they will not come at the start of an innings and say, play like a match defining or some sort of a defining innings.
That is
right?
left for KL Rahul, right?
KL Rahul, I don't know. I am amazed at what happened yesterday, even despite the maiden over. Despite
you're amazed at what
whatever
happened yesterday? Okay.
Yeah.
What is?
I mean,
He's an
forget
RCB
KL
fan,
Rahul.
Raz, please.
Hello, first KL Rahul, forget that. 30 from 30, you're supposed to win the game. Unless someone bowls like out of their skin and gets like a hat trick or something. Or
with
the
eight
other team
wickets
had
in hand.
Mohit Sharma.
With 8
Lord
wickets
Mohit
in hand.
Sharma was there.
I mean, to be fair to Mohit Sharma, he has been bowling well. I think he knows his limitations and he bowls at a particular length, and it's working for him till now. So he bowled the last over also. well.
Remind me, he played a World Cup, right? He played a long form.
2015,
2015, 2015,
amazing
15
bowling attack we had.
Yeah, 2015. He did well. He did well. Yeah, well.
So it's back to the mid 2015s or 2010s era, Hank. So we have Ishant Sharma back, Mohit Sharma is there, Piyush Chawla is there, Amit Sharma is there.
Amit Mishra.
Rahane.
Amit
Yeah.
Mishra.
Rahane, yeah. Yeah.
Rahane,
And
Rahane.
Dhoni turning it
And
on.
Dhoni is always there.
Hey, but
Alright, so
talking
any-
of the
any
games
more-
played yesterday, talking of the games played yesterday, Hank. So I think Arjun Tendulkar got the first taste of IPL. So he had, I think, two very nondescript games before that, 2 overs for 17, 1 wicket or no wickets. Yesterday he got tanked for 31, right? By Curran in 1
By
over.
Karan and Harpreet Bhatia.
Yeah, Harpreet Bhatia.
Yeah.
So this is the Curran Arjun sequel which you weren't really prepared for.
Nice.
But
And
I
interesting
thought in the
The Yorker was yesterday, no? Yesterday I was
yes,
watching.
yes.
That was a
Arshdeep
good
Yorker.
solid Yorker.
even
No,
even
not
at-
Arshdeep. Arjun bowled a
Arjun
Yorker, and he
Tendulkar
got an
Yorker.
LBW.
yeah.
Yeah.
But
that
I
was
Not
thought
similar.
in the last MI's game also he bowled a pretty good last over. He got a wicket also, I think.
Speaking of
there's
Harpreet
a
Bhatia,
nice there's a nice interesting anecdote that I was itching to make. I don't know. So Bhuvneshwar Kumar got Sachin Tendulkar out for a duck in his last first class game. I think it was Duleep Trophy or
Yeah.
Irani Trophy. And
Only
Arjun
duck, I
Tendul-
guess, no?
Yeah, it wasn't a golden duck. It was an only duck.
Yeah.
And Arjun Tendulkar turns up and gets Bhuvneshwar for a golden duck, I believe, caught at mid-on caught at cover by Rohit Sharma.
Cover.
And then there is this nice meme at the bottom, which is a screen grab from Gangs of Wasseypur that says, Badla hamare khoon mein hai. So it's fairly poetic that the father comes in and avenges by
You
taking
could make another
Bhuvneshwar's
meme which says "Beta baap hota hai."
all Hindi references probably flying off hands.
Yeah.
So
No.
But-
I'm pretty good with that. I'm worried about Vijay Armugam.
Hey, Adi, you were saying
Or-
something, right? Yeah.
no,
Yeah.
I was seeing, again, back to the Punjab versus MI match. As you can see, I have not watched too many IPL matches. I keep going back to last night's
recency
match.
bias.
But there was this, usually at the bottom when they show partnership between batsmen. So they had Harpreet Bhatia's photo and Sam Curran. And interestingly, Harpreet Bhatia, he didn't have a patka. He had a full pagdi in his screenshot. And I was
Yeah.
thinking, because Arshdeep bowls with a patka, I'm not sure if there's any current player who plays with a pagdi. I was only able to remember, I think, Amar Virdi from England, whom I've seen last play with the pagdi. But
No, he
just the
also
random
sports a patka only, no?
patka. I think I saw him in one game with a pagdi, maybe one county.
Maybe it was
game.
too cold that day, I think.
Oh, fair enough. Yeah,
But
that's
typically it's a
He has
it's a
natural
patka.
insulation he can use with the pagdi.
Yeah, exactly. But
Didn't-
it's always
didn't
been a
Rit-
patka.
Yeah.
Didn't Ritinder Singh Sodhi play with a pagdi by any
No,
chance? No,
patka.
right?
Pagdi is just
No,
too
no.
cumbersome to manage.
just
Too
too-
big. Yeah.
yeah.
Helmet and all. Yeah, I don't know whether it was just the photo, whereas he must have actually.
Yeah,
And
probably
if you wear a
the
pagdi
stock
and your bat,
photos.
right? You need. I mean, if you wear a patka and a bat, you need a space helmet to put it all in.
But
So-
speaking of Arshdeep, I think yesterday was a unique event.
Stump
Stump
breaking.
broken of two consecutive deliveries. I think, and the same stump broken. So there was some information on how he has cost 4 lakh to BCCI for the same.
Good on him. Let
He's
him
got
keep
a
doing it.
central contract, right? He's got a central contract.
Not now, at least.
Does
Guys, we have
Arshdeep
1 minute
play,
left on
50
this.
overs?
We have
Does
1 minute
Arshdeep play
left on
50
this.
overs?
Hey, how?
It
It's
says-
showing 8 minutes.
8 minutes.
8:40.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's showing.
Oh, sorry.
Is Arshdeep in the reckoning for the 50 over World Cup, or is he mainly T20 for now?
I don't know what's happening with the limited over teams, Adi. So I don't know who's in, who's out. So they keep on
I'm
shuffling the
just
teams.
rooting for Shikhar Dhawan to be back. That's the main one. Everyone
Are you
else
Do,
can
do
come
we
and
even
go.
know the schedule? Do we even
Hey,
know the
Dhoni
schedule?
will come back and captain us in the WTC
And-
final. Da.
And
The
Chops, we
prob-
need a number 4, so Rahane will also come back.
Exactly.
No,
Exactly
Vijay
my
Shankar.
problem.
What do you
Exactly
see?
my problem. Where you see that something happening in this useless tournament, and suddenly this has now become a springboard to say, oh, these people can play in the World Cup. We had a really good run in before this with.
See, we
Australia
had to do
playing.
all this so that you could do a rant. Now you do
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
Now you do that.
No, I'm sure none of us want Dhoni Rahane to come back, but just to see you rant, we kind of put.
I know the feeling, but I fear, my worst fear is, we have a Currans Sharma kind of moment happening from this IPL, and suddenly someone comes off, and Currans Sharma not only leapfrog from there to the ODI team, he played in a test match as well. Come on,
That too in
Adelaide,
Australia.
in Australia, that too.
Hank,
In
Hank sir,
Adelaide,
please
when-
remember, we are your only fans. No other fan you have.
Only fans. Nice.
Only fans. Yeah.
Only fans.
Yeah, but that's my worst fear, that the World Cup is happening just on the wake of this IPL, and all this useless form will be carried into the team selection. And but the only thing I'm hoping for is that a few non-Indian players get horribly injured, so we score is one at the moment. Let's hope that the IPL contributes to the world cricket balance in that way.
No,
Nice.
but this is done, right?
Yeah.
Time. 6 minutes are left. This is.
Shall we move on?
Go.
Shall we move on to other things from the IPL? And anything else to talk about in the IPL? Otherwise, we'll go.
We could talk about the youngsters who've done well, no? The uncapped ones.
Go. Talk about the uncapped ones, because you have the mic, you have the floor. Go for it.
Yeah. So talking of some youngsters and the uncapped players who've done well this IPL.
Hey, one doubt has come. You watched all this from Bali, is it?
the most the most amazing innovation has happened since the invention of iPhones, Hank sir. These are called the 7-minute highlights. So JioCinema has this wonderful section of 14-minute highlights and 7-minute highlights. So if you have a lot of time in the day, like Adi and you did in the morning, you can watch the 14-minute highlights. If you're on a trip to Bali, you have limited data, you watch the 7-minute highlights. So I watched all of those.
I thought you were saying that the most important innovation is this impact sub.
That too.
and reviewing of wide and no balls.
Yeah, no, it's now basically the IPL game is like a Sanjay Leela Bhansali movie. It keeps going on and on and on with all the reviews of wides and no balls. But yeah.
Yes, Amit just couldn't keep shut, right? With me making all the Bollywood references. Yeah, he had to make one.
Low hanging reference.
So yeah,
But
talking
yes,
of these
Vikas.
youngsters. So I think a few names come to mind. So there is Jitesh Sharma. You guys have seen him from Kings
Yes.
11. Yeah.
Yes.
Very good
Yeah.
wicketkeeper batsman. Doesn't take a lot of balls to set in. Unlike some other wicketkeeper batsman. Comes
And
in,
hits
tonks
big.
the first ball. Yeah, hits big. Yeah. Hits straight,
Because
hits
do you
big.
reckon he can replace Jerome aka Ishant K Kishan?
Well played.
But I love how we are still referring to that team as Kings 11 Punjab when they are now changed to.
Oh, they've
Punjab
changed
Kings.
names, is it?
Hey, good morning, Vikas.
Hey, Ness Wadia is still around, kya? Luke
called the
Pommersbach still
Punjab.
there, no? Luke Pommersbach will play the next match, yeah.
Two Palmer's back. Wow.
Yeah.
Brilliant recall.
More than Ishan Kishan, I want Jitesh Sharma to replace KL Rahul
In LSG, is it?
in all teams.
So
Whenever
just to talk about longevity, right? The
Yeah.
big talk of last year's IPL, there was a batsman, I think called Badoni, something like that.
Ayush Badoni.
Ayush
How's he
Badoni.
doing this time?
He's doing well. So he plays
Decent.
like KL Rahul gives him 5 balls to play. Like he scores 7 and gets run out of the last ball. What else can he do?
All right. So stat
So,
padding happening at the other
Badoni has
end.
done well. Yeah. So Badoni
Yeah.
has done well only. Limited
Because
opportunities
is it
and all
correct
that.
that KL Rahul is cock blocking QDK? Pun intended.
Okay, that's the intro.
What's this scene?
No,
So here-
the reason is because QDK is not playing because Kyle Mayers is doing very well, is what I understand. But I think we are not addressing the elephant in the room that KL Rahul himself should be dropped to give way to QDK, who's obviously a much better T20 player and a left-hander to boot.
Nice.
Boss, this is like the same analogy that Simon Dool was giving on the air the other day that say that you should either impact some Lomra or Kohli, because I don't think they're going to drop KL because he's the captain. Unless something goes really south, and LSG, despite all the harakiri and despite all the flip-flops, are still like what, second or third on the league table. So they're kind of doing well for themselves. So unless
What
something
about,
major happens in the
what about
second
tennis
part-
elbow and hamstring like we used to have during our
golf
period of
injury,
revolving test openers?
Yeah.
or it could be a golf injury.
Yeah.
But one other doubt, apart from the Badoni one, Vikas will go back to looking at young players who are making an impact. Was Shankaran always the captain of Punjab, or was a mid IPL switch into captaincy?
No. So Dhawan is unwell. He's not keeping.
Oh, okay, because I thought suddenly I noticed yesterday, again part of revision, that Shankaran is the captain. And I said, when did that happen?
Hey, did you say
Vikas-
Shankaran or did I like hear
Yeah,
it
I'm saying
Shankaran?
Shankaran.
That's
Yeah.
I
that's
always
his
refer to
nickname
him-
for Shankaran.
Ever since he went to
Okay.
CSK, he's
Yeah.
become Shankaran only.
Shankaran is not keeping well, and KL Rahul is not keeping well.
Well
good
done,
one.
well done.
Oh,
Yeah.
good one, good one.
But KL Rahul is not keeping at all, right? Puran is keeping for that team.
Hey, why are you spoiling that joke?
Sorry,
Yeah.
sorry.
See,
We can edit it out.
What he means is KL Rahul is not a keeper. Yeah.
Oh.
except
Oh,
except for Atiya Shetty.
Atiya.
For him, she's a keeper.
Hey, talking of the Shetties, what's up with Sunil Shetty? Any LinkedIn posts about KL Rahul and his firm? Hey, no, serious stuff. So the other youngster who's done well this IPL is a guy called Prabsimran Singh, again from Punjab. Had a very
Nice.
good Ranji season as well. And yeah, topping it up with some very good scores in the IPL as well. The other guy who's impressed me coming to the bowlers is this guy called Yudhvir Singh. You guys have seen him bowl? So
LSG.
Yeah.
yeah, so he's from
LSG.
JNK, fairly tall, I think 6'2" and all that. Hits the deck very hard. So very VRV Singh mold he's in.
Okay.
Yeah. Hey, so Samir, talking of JNK fast bowlers who can bowl fast. So RCB was supposed to unearth like 1 million of them, right? This IPL?
Avinash. There is a guy called Avinash who's just warming the bench. They've unearthed and kept it to do unearth for what?
Hey, 1 minute to go. Talking of Prabsimran, I suddenly got reminded of a movie reference. Prasimran Jile Apni Zindagi.
But Prabsimran, coming back to him, I think he played a very good first innings. I think after that he has not really come up with a good innings.
Yesterday he
also,
batted well, no?
Yesterday played
Yeah,
well.
yeah.
And
Yesterday,
he played 40
I-
odd against RCB, right? So back to back.
Sorry,
decent
Hey,
I'm-
that's not
I'm-
saying much, da.
Let's continue. We have we shouldn't go beyond
Another
the third
40 minutes to go.
Yeah, 40 more minutes and then another link and 40 more minutes.
if we send another link on that group, I think Nitin will
Join this
lead
one.
the group.
Impact sub Hank. Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe it'll go on for longer than an IPL match, the podcast.
But I remember this thing. I don't know when Vikas mentioned about Yudhvir, right? The only thing I remember from that game, apart from his decentish bowling, is I don't know. It was against RR, right? That he made his debut. I don't know whether it was RR or CSK or whom. He was fielding at mid wicket, and 3 back-to-back hits came at him, and he dropped all the 3. 2 of them were really tough. It was because he was trying to do like a relay catch. There was a third one, which is like fairly straightforward, and poor guy, the ball spun. So I remember.
Samir, what are you trying to do? You're actually developing recall and all this, is it? It goes against the flow of the board, right?
This is- But one player dropping 3 catches is the opposite of RR. Like 3 players drop 1 catch there.
And there was a 4th one to clean it up.
To catch
So,
it.
Yeah.
So continuing on with the
We're not
rest of the
missing
squad.
Pakistan in the IPL.
Oh, we have Sikandar Raza, no?
Yeah.
Oh.
Hey,
Yes,
any other
that-
Pakistan-born players in the IPL? So Sikandar Raza is one.
Pre-independence, I think there are many.
No, in the IPL.
Yeah.
No.
Usman Khwaja is playing, kya?
No, not really.
No.
But last year he played for LSG, right?
He didn't get visa.
Yeah.
That was for the test match. Boss.
Nobody did get the visa eventually.
I know.
Was that RR that famous incident with the 3 fielders going and Trent picking it up? Did it appear in the thing as Saha caught and bolt, or how was it
Yeah,
eventually picked up as a
So
Saha
decision?
caught and
Saha, no,
bowled.
that's
Saha nahi.
Bolt only.
Saha
Saha.
caught and bolt.
Caught and bolt. Okay.
A bolt from
Try
the
describing.
blue. Okay, so let's talk about other things that happened in cricket during the week. I think we've done IPL to death. In fact, IPL itself has done IPL to death. So So why don't we talk about other things? I do want to talk about the Australia team for the World Test Championship, which was released this week. Surprise, I guess, a few surprises. Warner, Harris, Renshaw, and I think are the three main surprises from my perspective. Warner was the biggest one. Harris, in the podcast, I think a couple of weeks back, when Peter Layla was saying that he would be very, very surprised to see Warner in the team, and to see Warner here is surprising. Not just the World Test Championship, but also the Ashes that follows immediately after that. Harris as an understudy to Warner, it's very clear that Khwaja will be opening with Harris, with Warner, with Harris being the understudy after I think Cameron Bancroft had a fantastic Sheffield Shield season. Renshaw, again, unsure about that, but he gets a gig. He gets to go. So yeah, thoughts?
Machan, what's happened to Pukovsky? He's still out of the works.
That's out.
Still concussed, no?
Yeah,
he
he
played
gets
for University of Melbourne in grade cricket, so he's slowly coming up through the ranks, but he is not yet ready to play for Wick in Sheffield.
He gets concussed
very often,
as many times as KL Rahul plays the first over maiden.
14 out of 24 times.
But is that actually true? That start? So we did
that start was.
No. This is the thing is, Hank, you don't need to like invent KL Rahul stats. There are enough KL Rahul stats.
Fair enough. But that particular one is wrong.
This is like that 75% of engineers in NASA are from India. This is the same category. It'll run for a few more years.
UNESCO declared India flag as best flag in the world.
Exactly. Like those kinds of things, yes. And the national anthem.
Vande Bharat is the fastest train in the world type, sir.
Yeah, of course. The violin was invented in India.
So I think Hank, pretty standard team, and I know those three are the surprises, but I don't think anybody else has probably set the Australian domestic scene.
Michael Neser.
To deserve a go. Yeah. Neser was my only objection. I mean, Neser's exclusion was my only objection, but I mean, then again, he will be plying his trade in some county cricket or somewhere, so he should be a local call away, so to speak, during the Ashes. And other than that, I think it's a impact sub. Yeah, I think it's a pretty standard sort of selection.
One notable omission who was there during the summer is Lance the Wild West Morris from WA. Injured, but he was. But I think he was not going to be sidelined for too long. So I was surprised to not kind of see any comms about him potentially being there. But because they were grooming him to be an out and out pace bowler, but I don't think you need out and out pace for England, so it's not going to be a big loss.
No, I still think if he's not injured, then he might get a go, because Ben Stokes has come out with that statement where they're not doctoring the pitch. If anyone gets any wrong ideas,
he's just instructing the groundsmen
to prepare fast and flat pitches where their batting can come good. So I think he's still probably a good selection call if they make one. But I mean, the other guys are pretty good.
I'm appalled at how easily you guys have forgotten Matthew Kuhneman.
Kuhneman is there in England. He's bowling quite well.
Kuhneman, but is not there in the squad.
He's there in England, so it's cool. They can call him up anytime they want.
And there'll be a bunch of players who will be rotating around that could be drafted in. So Kuhneman kind of.
Labuschagne is playing county cricket. Kuhneman is playing it. Bancroft is playing it. So you'll always have
getting good practice bowling in the nets for RCB. So
yeah. The surprise. No one's mentioned the surprise of Mitchell Marsh. Marsh tends to get a gig every now and then in important series and so on, and this one again.
But Hank, I thought the verdict on him is pretty clear, right? I mean, he's supposed to be like a once in a generation talent for sure, and the fact that he's not come good so far, is just sort of a proof of how often he's been injured, etc. I think that's the verdict on him. I'm not convinced about it myself. But I think the Australians rate him very, very highly.
This is the point, right? why do you keep going back to that player? I mean, he's obviously very good in the short form of the game, and they're doing really well with that. But when you have Cameron Green, who is just you can bank on him anytime. Why would you?
Who else is there? Like that's what I mean. Once the team came out, I actually tried to figure out who else they could have picked. But I mean, I really don't think they have like even 5 more people to make the squad from the domestic scene.
Well, that's the point. So should Nasser have been on the team instead of Marsh? I mean, why would you need? Right. So those are the questions, right? Kuduman could have.
But enough about nepotism in cricket.
Oh.
Enough about nepotism. Yeah.
I find it surprising that Josh Inglis has been included.
He's
I'm
a
not
keeper,
sure.
right? Reserve keeper. So you just need.
Yeah. And
need someone
also would be interesting to see Scott Boland bowling in England. I think he performed.
I think he'll do well.
Really
I think he'll do well.
Yeah.
It's tailor-made for English conditions.
I mean,
He
Yeah, I
did
think
really well
it's-
in the Ashes.
It's quite surprising how, I mean, the loyalty for me at least has clearly shifted. I used to support the English all this while as the underdog, etc. But this time I'm firmly going to be in Australia's camp, which means England have a good chance.
And do we assume that Glenn Maxwell's test career is more or less done?
Yeah,
absolutely,
I
yes.
think so.
He's
Absolutely.
the Surya Kumar Yadav of Australia.
Yeah, let's not
Hey,
talk about Sky.
don't forget that 16-1700 man, great innings.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
to be
Ranchi,
fair,
no? Ranchi.
he would have had a good chance to play in the Border Gavaskar if it's not for
Yeah,
his injury. Right?
absolutely.
Yeah.
Would have
He would have
gotten
played
at least one game, I guess.
and maybe it would have given him a lifeline for his test career. But I think now it could look quite. But you never know because this summer, when I say this summer, December, Jan this year, you have Pakistan and West Indies coming to Australia, so he might get a last hurrah to kind of improve his averages, assuming that they don't get any replacements.
Doubt it.
So,
So
I doubt
it's
it.
convenient that all of you have started talking about the Australian team in the context of the Ashes, but there's a WTC to be played before then.
appetizer.
Is this a good team for the
Yeah.
WTC? Remembering
I'm-
that it'll be played at the Oval, which is probably likely to be more sprint friendly than much of the rest of the Ashes.
I think whatever kind of pitch you put up in England, it's going to seam and swing at least a little bit. And Pat Cummins, Hazelwood are very well placed to exploit that. And I mean,
Even that's
it's
what
going to
I
be a
said
big
about-
surprise. If
And
Scott Boland
Stark's
also-
form, Macha. Stark's form in
Stark's
the
form.
ODIs was amazing. Yeah. If he bowls
Sorry,
like
Sandy
that-
ji, you were saying
I'm saying that's what I was mentioning about Scott Boland also. Like he'll be
Scott Boland,
great to
yeah.
watch. Yeah.
Mhm.
And I think it's a return of Pat Cummins as captain after like 2 test matches of being away. But people had started talking about how Steve Smith should be long-term captain, but
Yeah.
I don't think that's going to happen.
But that's the
But
point,
Australia
right?
start as firm favorites, right?
in-
For
yeah.
the WTC final.
Possibly, yeah.
Yeah.
In
Australia are
the,
winning it, boss.
in the Layla episode, right?
Hey, go to
Layla
Australia, Macha.
Lero talked, sorry, let me just finish, right? In the Lelo episode, Lero talked about how in the subcontinent you should not have a bowling captain, a bowler captain. You're much better off having a batsman as captain,
Absolutely.
not even a wicketkeeper, because you can see the dimensions of the field as a batsman much more and react to things that are happening. He was also talking about how things happen really, really quickly sometimes in the subcontinent. As a bowler, standing in long on or fine leg or
Fine
something
leg.
like that, you really can't really make all those distinctions. So he was all for. So he was unpacking that particular episode, the thought that Steve Smith is a better captain by saying, no, this is just for the subcontinent. And Steve Smith
Yeah.
doesn't want to do it in the long term anyway. So Cummins.
But I mean, bowler not being a captain in subcontinent and more so a fast bowler because there's no surety of how many matches they will play in the subcontinent.
Well,
That's the
probably-
only way to get a match. No, you become captain.
also you do thumbs up to the screen. It's
Yeah, all that
become
sort of stuff.
captain.
So
Uh,
yeah, I'm pretty sure that Australia will be firm favorites for the WTC. The Indian players will be pretty tired after playing the IPL, and we invent new ways of shooting ourselves in the foot. There's another one.
But Rohit Sharma has said whichever teams don't qualify, they will be sent. Their players will be sent to
Yeah.
WTC. I mean, for practice, which is enough. I think, according to Rohit Sharma, just 5 days of practice is enough.
Thomas
Siraj
Cook
will get
is
full 2 months, no? Yeah.
that is why Thomas Cook is tracking the IPL better than all of us. Ticket book karo.
So from that point of view, which teams do we not want to qualify for the IPL?
Very convoluted.
Very, like this. நீ இப்படி வரியா?
I'll say GT actually, because we have Gill and Shami in that team. I'll say GT.
Number one to be struck off the list from qualification. If I was Mayappan, I'll be doing my work on that one.
I thought
DC
Hank
is not DC are not going through, right? Like one win in
Warner we want Warner to be in the 11, no? Let him go with the India team only.
And someone Prithvi Shaw also to be in the 11th. But Hank, I thought you will say KKR shouldn't qualify because Bedex has to go early. He's a certainty in the 11th.
Yeah, well, I think for the it'll be interesting to see what the Indian team will be. I mean, I guess to some extent, whether we like it or not, the top four is set in terms of the batting. Well, maybe not. Who knows?
No, but not really. No, number 4 is not set. No, KL might bat at 4. Is what the consensus was towards the 4th match. Last match.
I thought we are bringing back.
Why did you knock off Kohli from number 4? Dad?
Number 3. He promoted Kohli to number 3.
No.
So Pujara is in England, right? Anyone's been calling him
the top 4. There's not. I don't think there's going to be any change at all. The only thing you could say, maybe KL will edge out Gill, but I don't see that happening. The only thing, and the 5 probably is Shreyas Iyer unless he gets injured again or whatever.
No, Iyer is unwell. Iyer is out. Yeah.
I know.
So I think KL at 5 then. Yeah. Oh, we are already previewing the WTC final, is it?
Because I think you're right about.
We have to talk about cricket at some point in time in the podcast.
I think after GT is probably KKR because we get Bedex and Boys Yadav, Umesh, who might be the third, right? What's the seam attack like? Because with Siraj, Shami, and Umesh.
Oh, I'll throw in Unadkat. As a third seamer. Yeah. I think I'll throw him as a third seamer. And Ashwin and Jadeja.
That's also a good thing because as soon as you talk about Unadkat, the team which he's playing for are not going to qualify. So it's good.
Hey, which team is he playing for? I have no clue.
LSG.
It's okay.
But they won't call. They are at number 2 right now. But
they're putting number 2.
They can keep Rahul.
Sandy ji, you think we care about our predictions coming true or false?
But I think Siraj doesn't have to worry about all this. His team will definitely be out and he'll be early.
Or Kohli. Yep.
Right. So
Samir, this is where you shout RCB.
Yeah. I was just giving you a cue.
Today is worst day in RCB history. Highest and lowest total recorded today, 23rd April. So both the 263 for 5, that was the Gale Storm against Pune, and 49 against KKR, which led to this very bad precedent that we will go after all the bowlers who've taken RCB wickets ever, get them and make them like worse this one of themselves, worse versions of themselves. I mean, if you stack together over the course of time that there's an RCB rejects 11 team and then build it and pit them against RCB, that RCB rejects will actually go and win the IPL.
That's KL Rahul will captain. How will they win?
KL Rahul will captain that team, but it
random wound got opened, I think. Something happened.
There's KL Rahul, there's Shivam Dubey.
Somebody put Phillips all to your wound.
Sachin, it's only not even half the season and you're already crying like this, is it?
Yeah. And interestingly, so just saw on Twitter what Jai Bhattacharya posted about Harpreet Singh Bhatia, and this is the guy in 2017 who was confused. There was a guy called Harmeet Singh who was arrested in Andheri station for an altercation, and a sub-editor mentioned the wrong name as Harpreet Singh, and Harpreet Singh Bhatia actually lost his career, and by the time the clarification came, he was unsold in the auction. He was eventually again picked up by RCB as a replacement for Sarfaraz. So, like I said, that RCB and yesterday he scored like what 40 of 26, 40 of 27 or something,
well.
right? So this RCB rejects theory is actually holds water, right? Like there is Steve Smith, there is who all the Tim David was in RCB, Shimran Hetmeyer, Unat Kat. It's just crazy.
Some would say even Sunil Joshi is doing well.
Yeah, Sunil Joshi is doing well. Chris Wokes, Umesh Yadav, just crazy. Yeah. I mean, Rahul Dravid almost won the cup with RR as a coach, right? Except for his famous hat top incident. So yeah, I mean that RCB rejects theory is great. But yeah, today is the green match, and today if we are going to bottle, it will be for the environment. So yeah, green jersey historically been bad for RCB. But yeah, enough about saving the environment. Let's talk about
enough about RCB crying also. So let's move on. Do we, Adi, you had something about a book that you're reading at the moment. Do you want to tell us about
and
some of the cricket
Hank,
books
you
that you're
wanted
reading?
to speak about Dickie Bird.
And Dickie Bird, yeah. And I think Adi has got something on Dickie Bird.
I might speak about Dickie Bird. So, like Hank mentioned, 90th birthday. So, I was just looking at, I remember Dickie Bird surprisingly in the June 96 India versus England game, where he gave Atherton out LB, I think, in the first hour. And they had a guard of honor for him, which I've never seen before for any umpire. And I think that explains Dickie Bird's greatness as an umpire, that they actually did it for an umpire. And I think Mike Atherton, in his article in the Times says he blubbed a little, dabbed a tear or two from his eyes, waved his hanky to the crowd, and then 5 balls later gave me out leg before for a duck. and, and then there's one other incident on Dickie Bird, which again Atherton speaks about. He says a game I played in once found Dickie having dropped his counting marbles, which they use to keep track of the number of balls, crawling around on his knees, shouting, "I've lost my marbles! I've lost my marbles!" He could always poke fun at himself, and I do remember he would have this wry smile, and he was probably one of those umpires who knew how to deflect a situation, without trying to be an umpire and schooling players, just with a nice smile, or try to deflect some tension in the air. And also, I think in India, most people also remember him for doing the nothing of unofficial or nothing official about it ad campaign during the 96 World Cup, where he was one of the umpires in that in that ad campaign. And then I think in the UK, a badge of honor for any celebrities to be invited on this program called Desert Island Discs. So it's a BBC program where they test any celebrity. If you were asked to be on an island where you only had access to books and music, what would you pick? And Dickie Bird was invited there, I think, in the late 80s. So yeah, I just thought it would be nice to speak about Dickie Bird, noting that Aleem Dar recently also got a guard of honor during his last test match too. I haven't seen that for other umpires. I'm sure Chops might have references to other umpires who also had guard of honors recently. But for me, I think Dickie was the first one I remember in that India-England match in 96.
Was it the same match where Ganguly and Dravid were debutants? Yeah,
it had a lot of debuts plus a farewell for Dickie Bird.
Yeah,
same here.
The Dickie Bird incident I remember fondly was when Fanny de Villiers, I think, pretended to bite off his ear in a test, I think, because the LBW decision didn't go Fanny's way. It was not like Tyson versus Holyfield kind of a thing, but it was more out of jest that happened. And I mean, even for someone like Dickie Bird, who had stomach for surprises of all kinds, this was perhaps too much to take. But it was fun memory of Dickie Bird.
But it's interesting that when you were mentioning that Dickie Bird is the only umpire that had a guard of honor, I was just going to interject by saying Aleem Dar received a couple of, in the Bangladesh.
I'm not sure if anybody in between had it. I mean, I can't remember.
Correct. But he did have.
Maybe David Shepherd.
Was also. Is what I'm thinking.
Did he have it? Okay.
No, I don't know. I mean, I'll have to check.
Probably.
Most umpires don't announce their last match. Probably that's why.
I think Ian Gould also did and Dick Shepherd also did. So I don't know if the guard of honor was something that happened, because sometimes they announce it after they've done
Yeah,
that
yeah.
match. So yeah.
So most
But
go
Alimdar,
Rahul.
sorry,
Sorry.
go on, Sanjay.
I'm saying most go Rahul Dravid way rather than Sachin Tendulkar.
Yeah, perfect. Well said. Yeah.
Apt tribute to Sachin on his
Or in some case,
Nice.
BCCI. In some cases, BCCI makes the umpire retire.
Yeah. So Alimdar, Adi is still going to do home test, right? He's still eligible to do that. Or do they still have non-neutral umpires? I think they do, right? After COVID.
They do,
After
but I
COVID,
think
yeah,
this
they
was
still
his last test.
No, he's out of the elite panel, but
Oh.
he can still do some. I'm not sure of the
No, I think he's
technicality. but-
retired. I think he's retired for good. Who's the now? I think Ashraf Ghani or someone from Pakistan has taken his place in the elite
The elite.
panel. I'm not sure. That there is someone who's taken Alimdar's place for sure.
Cool. That's a wonderful roundup on Dickie Bird 90. Samir, you had something to say about Halla Bowl, and you can say that, and then
I think I mean, as mediocre, dull, and mid this IPL has been, R Ashwin doing the whole Halla Bowl, Konjam Nalla Bowl has been a breath of fresh air. I mean, honestly, I have never seen such inventiveness come organically, right? Like I think it was started by Ashwin and the assistant coach, who's that? Forgetting his name. So there's this nice little video where Ashwin, Sanju Samson, and the assistant coach come together and they say "Halla bol, konjam nalla bol," right? And that for me is probably the most spontaneous piece of content that has come across, right? Like, I mean, we've kind of now even know that there's a template, right? Like every end of every RCB game, there's gonna be a Max video. Especially the one against Lucknow was hilarious. Self-referential. Chennai Twitter still seems to be stuck in 2010 by saying that they put a photo of the sambar at the Bangalore hotel and they said it's bloody sweet. And I mean, amidst all of this, Hala Bowl, Konjam Nalla Bowl comes as a breath of fresh air. And I think it's probably going to be my most memorable takeaway from this IPL, unless something more dramatic happens in the this one. But I mean, it's staggering that we are almost at the halfway point of IPL and we are only clutching at the straws for moments. And
Are we at the
Rinku
halfway
Singh hits 5 sixes. The team needs 28 of 5 balls. Rinku Singh hits 5 sixes. Samir Bhuvan says Halla Bol is a memory of the IPL. Well done, macha.
Yeah, I mean, it's outside of that, what has happened? I mean, by now probably the previous
Dhoni's
Dhoni
videos
almost
with opposition kids, opposition players, kids is also nice.
Yeah, I mean, to invoke
Opposition kids. Oh, he's all sold.
to invoke brother T, Tarek Lashkar, friend of the pod, he said that edtex have moved from this to this, and he put a screen grab of Dhoni speaking to Orange Fire idiots, SRH players who just careened, and but that was a nice video, nice gesture from Dhoni, who inadvertently said in a presser that this is the last phase of his career. So yeah, I mean, tears about that, but again, very few. We are almost at the halfway mark and nothing. It just feels very templatized. There's no major controversy.
Hey, 3 Zoom calls, da. What do you say? Something is happening.
We hope something changes in the next.
Whether Samir or Hank, you'll never know.
I don't
This is
know.
the most exciting thing I've heard about the IPL, that we are at the halfway stage.
So
on that note, maybe we should wrap this up. We've been going for a long while. It's been another fun episode. This is episode 68, I believe. Someone will edit it. Someone will put it up there. My producer, who's been whispering my ear all along, will have something to do about getting this up on favorite podcast platforms for you. Listen to it, link, share, subscribe, like, and give us feedback as well. Everyone, even Vijay Armugam, please give us feedback. We will make sure that we will continue to listen to you or not. We'll see you all in episode 69 in a week from now, when we will talk a little bit more IPL.
Nice.
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 All right, say bye, everyone.
Nice segue. Bye.
Bye.
Bye. Bye.